This is CyHawk Game Day, sponsored by Nissan and Clear Choice of Des Moines.
Welcome into CyHawk Game Day. I'm Reina Garcia alongside Jeff Woody. Well, Jeff, top 5 teams have not fared well at Kinnick Stadium when facing the Hawkeyes. What makes it so hard to play at Kinnick? Well,
that should have been a tough game to play, but Michigan broke that curse when they played at Kinnick last week. So, I mean, it's supposed to be a tough game and it's a tough environment. Michigan's just that good. And so that's what happened when Michigan went to play. Now, the good thing for Iowa is they get to go back to the Big Ten West. They get out of the Big Ten East today for the game against Illinois. Yeah, well, let's get into that game against Michigan. The 4th-ranked Wolverines looking to, like you said, change that when they came to town on Saturday. Michigan opened up the scoring with Ronnie Bell. He's going to take this one in 16 yards for the touchdown, and Michigan will jump out to a 7-0 lead. So let's fast forward to the 3rd quarter. J.J. McCarthy making a great throw on the run. We talked about that last week. Don't let him do it. He hits Donovan Edwards in the back of the end zone for 6. Michigan would lead 20-0 by the 4th. Iowa trying to mount a late comeback. Caleb Johnson gets the carry. He scores from 2 yards out. They cut the lead to 13, but it was just too little too late. They fall to Michigan 27-14. Yeah, and I thought that
I saw a lot of things I thought that were better, and yeah, but that's not going to get it done for us unless we really, we got to keep pushing this thing forward and squeezing some things down.
Well, Iowa had quite a few costly penalties. It was kind of like deja vu from Iowa State Baylor in terms of some of the calls. You could say those are a little bit questionable, but they did have calls ultimately that cost them in this game.
And I think questionable is probably a pretty generous term. I think especially the chop block, that was a really bad one. I mean, you can't run the offense Iowa wants to run and get called for that pay. So the thing I was saying is, I actually thought that the way Michigan played is, if you're going to try and beat Iowa in Kinnick in a game like that, when you mentioned at the top of the show that top 5 teams have not really fared well at Kinnick, in order to do what Michigan did, you have to play like they did, which is very few penalties, very few turnovers, very few times you're backing yourself into a corner. I think the only times that Michigan punted in the first half was after they had gotten a penalty and they got themselves behind the chains. But as soon as you do that, that's blood in the water for the Iowa defense. So Michigan's just a really good team. Again, coming to Illinois, I don't think Illinois is as sharp as Michigan, so that defense will have a chance to kind of get back into the dominant form we saw them do earlier. But, still a tough game for Iowa because just Michigan didn't open the door for them to kick it through.
Yeah, and we kind of sound like a broken record when we talk about this Iowa offense. It's kind of the same thing every week. I mean, the defense, there's only so much they can do. I mean, even though Michigan put up 27 points, I think the defense still played relatively well considering. But, I mean, where do you go from here in terms of your offense?
Well, I think, they moved the ball well in the first half. And then they got a penalty called back. And then they moved it, and then they got the penalty called back. And they moved it, and they got the penalty called back. So they just have to clean it up. I mean, they've gotten, you could say, a little better between just executing in the very first few weeks and now. But the problem is they still, like the expression, shoot yourself in the foot. Like, they don't have a foot anymore of how many times they've shot it off. So it's quit making mistakes on the offensive end, and it's taking what the defense gives you. So again, Michigan's a tough test. They're a really good defense. Their offensive line might be the best in the conference. So it's not a great matchup for Iowa. So again, but the offense just has to be better. Like, there's not one thing. They just have to generally be better everywhere.
Yeah, really just coming down to execution, I think. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will recap that heartbreaker in Lawrence last weekend between Iowa State and Kansas.